Hi, everybody. Welcome to June's edition of the Mix and Match Blanket Club, the modern crochet blankets from Esme Crick. This month, we're going to be talking about filet crochet stitches. Filet crochet is a type of crochet where you're using chain spaces to create designs in your crochet work. So the first one I'm going to demonstrate today here is this one, number 44, called the Linking Leaves. Yeah, Linking Leaves. It creates a diamond shape by using chain spaces to create the design. Okay, so let's switch over to the camera. And I will tell you that when I went through all of the options in here, and I picked 3 to demonstrate because I thought they were different enough to show, I didn't realize that I actually had picked 3 really good ones. The first one I'm going to show is really a good example of basic filet crochet, okay? Using a chain space, skipping a stitch, and creating a design. And the second one that I'm going to show turns out to be an example of filet crochet that I'm really not interested in doing. It was it was a little too complicated, and I had a hard time visualizing it, where the spaces should go. So for me, that was not, it was not a great one that I would want to use, but I learned that, and I learned what to look for in other patterns, which anytime I can learn something new, I'm all for it. And the third one I'm going to show is just plain fun, and it's different, and it's easy, and it's like all these different possibilities that have come up with it. So I'm actually really excited for to show you this. Let's switch to the camera. Okay, so this is number 44, Linking Leaves. I did a beginning. This is one of the repeats here. And then in class this morning, I did the second repeat and demonstration. So I'm going to continue on, and I'll go through the rows with you. But essentially what you're doing is we're using double crochets in this particular pattern, and we are creating chain spaces and then skipping stitches. So chaining and then skipping a stitch to create an open space, and then working into those chain spaces on subsequent rows. So we make the shapes go out, and then we make the shapes come back in. Okay, so each diamond really here has a point. When you do your repeat, will be the repeat is rows, let's see, 3 through 11, because you don't have to do row 2 again. Row 2 makes this single point, but so does row 11. So the ending point for this one becomes the beginning point for the next one, and so on. Okay, so I have completed the second of my diamonds without doing the final part, because I'm going to use that as the beginning part for this one. I hope that makes sense. Okay. This particular pattern has doesn't have a multiple. She tells you to chain 18. If you're going to use the foundation single crochet, as we've talked about before, you will make 17 foundation single crochets. And that is the number of stitches in this repeat. There are 17 stitches across. And there are nine rows that make up your repeat in rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 rows. So I had done my setup row. I did foundation single crochet, and I'm going to begin with row 2 of the pattern. She does say that you're going to chain 2. You will chain 2 at the beginning of every row, and it does not count as a stitch throughout. Just going to zoom in just a little here. So your chain 2 is never going to count as a stitch, which is a clue when she tells you to make the next stitch. You are going to go right into the stitch that chain 2 is connected to. Because this is not counted as a stitch, we need to put a stitch in there. So row 2, 8 double crochets, chain 1, skip a stitch, and do 8 double crochets. So that's what we're going to do. And this, like I said, is also how I would end when you get to the end, when you do I think that works. Hold on, let me just think this out loud. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to double check this before we do that. I remembered from this morning. I just didn't write it down. Let me share the camera. Okay. Row 2 has you doing 8 double crochets, chain 1, 8 double crochets, chain 1, skip a stitch, and do 8 double crochets. When you get to the end here, I'm going to be making the same row, but I'm going to be going into chain spaces, not just regular stitches. So I'm going to do 8 double crochets, but some of them are going to be in a stitch and some of them are going to be in a chain space. It'll make sense. So let's put 1 in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My 8th one is going into my chain space, which is fine. Chain 1, skip 1. I'm going to skip this double and make 8 more doubles, starting in the chain space. And that's only because I'm completing my the ending of my repeat. It's creating the same kind of row, but what it's being built on is not the same. But from now on, you'll get the idea. Oh, I did way too many stitches. Way too many yarn overs. So this will be the end of row 2. This is like another reversible pattern. Looks the same on both sides, which is nice. All right, row 3, chain 2 and turn. Remember, I like to chain before I turn. Chain 3 has us doing seven double crochets, and we're going to see a theme here. We're going to be reducing it as we build out our chain spaces, and then we'll be increasing it when we're making it smaller. So 7 double crochets. Let's count. We don't count the chain 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. And 7. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip a stitch. So here's my stitch I'm going to skip. And I'm going to 1 double in the chain 1 space. And then I'm going to do 1 double in the next stitch. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip 1, and I'm going to do 7. And we'll take a look at what that looks like. Let's make sure I did that right. I think I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, I didn't do it right. Let's double check my counting here. 7 double crochets. Take it back to there. 7 doubles. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 stitch, 1 double in the chain 1 space. Oh, I shouldn't have done an extra stitch. Okay. So I did my chain one double in the chain one space, chain one, skip one. So we're skipping this double and we're going right here. That looks better. So now I've got 2 chain spaces coming out of this chain space. All right, and now I'll do 7. So that was 1, 2, sorry for the confusion, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're going into the top of the last stitch, not the chain 2. All right. So we talked about in the class this morning that depending on your tension, this is a block, this is a strip that will look better when it's been blocked. I'm on the looser side when I crochet, and my stitches slant. They get straightened out because when you turn it, they slant the other direction, but it pulls my chain spaces a little bit. So we're going to, in the end of the year, in November, we're going to spend some time talking about blocking our strips and the need to or the not need to. This is one that will be blocked. Just look how when I kind of pull it a little bit and just adjust the tension, how much nicer that looks than when it's like that. Okay. Just a little tip if you're thinking it looks kind of, ugh, that's why. All right. I will also say one of my notes that I had on every one of these was you need to keep track of your rows. This one will become fairly intuitive because we want these things to line up. And if they don't line up, it will be very clear to you if you're paying attention to the word. Chain 2 and turn. Flat some yarn. I'm on row 4. Chain 6, 6 double crochets. Let's try that again. My tension and my crocheting has been all over the place today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, 1 double in the chain 1 space, 1 double in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1 space, 1 double in the chain 1 space, 1 double, 1 double in, I apologize, not a chain 1 double in the chain space, chain 1, skip 1, and do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you are counting that end and you don't get to the end of your row, you know you're off somewhere. So again, here they're leaning out, which is what I want them to do. And I've got 3 double crochets in the middle. Here I had 1. Now I have 3. The next one I'm going to have 5. You're going to start to see the pattern. Okay. I'm going to go halfway through this block until it starts to decrease, and then we're going to move on to the other one. Chain 2. Now we're on to row 5. So we had started with 8 double crochets, then we did 7, then we did 6, and now we're doing 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, skip 1. So we're going to skip that double crochet. And I'm going to stop just for a second and do 1 in the chain 1 space. So when you are dealing with a stitch followed by a chain space, let me zoom in just a little here. Controls go. Yep. Did I hit every wrong button here? I think I can. I'm really glad no one's on here with me live. Let's see me speed this up so bad. There we go. That's what I needed. Just wanted to zoom in a bit. There we go. Okay. When you're going into a stitch that's followed by a chain space, I don't want to, if you're going into the stitch, the top of the stitch, when you're working back and forth, is always to the left of the post. So the top of, take out one of my doubles, the top of this double crochet is slightly to the left. It's right here. The top of this double crochet is slightly to the left right here. It is leaning into the chain one space, but it is not in the chain one space. So don't make that mistake, because it is still a stitch that has to be dealt with. All right, get across here. So I did 5. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to do 1 in the chain 1 space. And then, oh, let's see, chain 1, skip 1 double in the chain 1 space. I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So here's the top of that one. 1, 2, and 3. Again, the top of this stitch is not in the chain 1 space. It is the space just to the left. It's in an actual stitch. Then I am going to 1 double in the chain 1 space. And then I'm going to chain 1 and skip 1. I'm going to skip this double and do 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So even though she told us to do 3 double crochets, we also did a double crochet in the chain space, which makes a total of 5 altogether there in a row. But visually, that makes sense to me. That lines up, okay? Chain 2 and turn. Now we're getting to the halfway point. This is row 6. As you can guess, I'm going to chain 4. Two, 3, 4, chain 1, skip 1, 1 in the chain 1 space, 5 double crochets, 1, make the loops, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 in the chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, make 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 2 and turn. Okay. That was row 6. Row 7 also has us chaining 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth one is going to go into the top of this double, not into the chain space. So right there. There's my 4 double crochets. Now I'm going to do 7 double crochets. 1, 2, and it did say, and I skipped it, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space. So no stitch in this chain 1 space, and do 7. Forgot my chain. 1, 2, 3. This is the halfway point, this row right here. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Again, I'm going to want to go into the stitch, not the chain space. There is a difference. Chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, and do 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Here we go. So now we're going to start bringing it back in with decreasing. Well, actually, first we start bringing it back in by putting stitches in our chain spaces. So again, row 8, chain 2 and turn, we're still going to do 4. So you've got 3 rows where you are doing 4 double crochets at the beginning and the end. But what you're doing with the stitches in between, if you're going into chain spaces or skipping them, is what's different. So this was the first row we did with 4. This is our center one. And now we're doing our third one with 4. And then you'll start to see the links getting, the chains getting closer together. So let's do 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to do 1 double in the chain 1 space. We are going to chain 1. We are going to skip 1, and we're going to do 5. 1, 2. We're bringing it back in. 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double in the chain 1 space, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There you go. So now we're starting to bring it back in, and we'll continue. You would continue on and getting back down to 1, and then you continue on that way. So let me zoom out a little here. So you get this nice linked leaves that go on and on using the chain spaces to create your design. Now it should, if you are off in your pattern, it will be pretty clear. This won't, it won't be symmetrical, it won't look uniform, and you're gonna know right away. So as you're going through, just take a look at each row and make sure that it looks like it's lining up the way you are. If you're not sure what row you're on, this is a great pattern to learn how to read your stitches. So here's where I ended. So where I began was right here. Here was my chain 2, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles, and then I did 1 double and a chain 1 space. I chained 1, I skipped 1, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 1, 1 double in the chain 1 space, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So by reading your work, you can match this up with what row you've just completed, and that was row 8. Okay, and you would continue on 9, 10, 11, and then back to row 3 for your repeat. All right, that was linking leaves, number 44. We're going to go on. Move this out of the way. This one I did in white yarn. To number 49, dotty squares. So here's another one that let me show it to you in the book. It makes a big difference. So this has clearly been blocked. It looks quite nice. Everything lined up. Visually, it's divided down the center, so it's symmetrical on both sides here. This is the first repeat. This is the second repeat of our pattern. There is a square within a square of chains, and a square of double crochets within a square of chains. So every row of the repeat is a little bit different, and I found myself really having a hard time visualizing where I was. Not like with the diamond. I could tell we were moving out and then moving in, moving out and moving in. This one I had a harder time. Part of it, I believe, was because I was using this white yarn, which this is Scrumptious by Sheep Gist, which is what I'm using for the whole project. For some reason, the white yarn is just a little bit thinner. And every stitch I've done out of the white yarn, I've not been thrilled with. And it has finally dawned on me, I think it's because of the white yarn, not because of the stitch. So what I've decided to do is change my hook size. And I already like it much better. So the first time I went through it, I did my sample. I used the hook I've been using for everything else, which is a 4mm. Right here, I started, and you can see it's starting to move in a little bit. I went down to a 375. I might even do a 35 for this. I might even try that if I continue on. If anything else I do in the white yarn, because it's just thin enough. And maybe it's because it doesn't have a heather added to it. I don't know why. I could spend all day trying to think about that, but I'm not going to. But I had a hard time really visualizing where I was just by looking at this as I was working through it. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, that one is completed. I think I took it through. This one is this is one that has a chain and a multiple. This one is a multiple of 11 stitches plus 3 is what she says in the book. So if you're doing the foundation single crochet, you will do multiples of 11 plus 2, which is what I've done here. I have 24. I did 24 foundation single crochets. So my repeat is 11. And then I had 2 extra stitches. Let's figure out where I was here. So this is a good example of trying to read where I had left off in this pattern. And actually what I'm going to end up doing is, this isn't one I'm going to keep. I'm going to pull it back to the beginning. So this, if you're doing the foundation single crochet, you will begin on row 2, which is a wrong side row. And it tells you, let's see, I believe it's that row right there. Okay, so that's what I'm taking out. Okay. So I'm going to chain 2 again. Again, the chain 2 does not count in this pattern as well, which she says. So now I'm going to ignore this and pretend I'm starting from my foundation single crochet here. Chain 2 does not count as a stitch throughout. I'm going to do 2 double crochets. Every row, and you can see from my repeat, begins with 2 double crochets. So I'll go into the same stitch the very first stitch, the one your chain 2 is coming out of, and the next one. So 2 double crochet. And then my repeat is chain 1, skip 1 stitch, 1 double crochet, 5 times. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet. That's 1. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double. That's 2. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double. That's 3. Chain 1, skip 1, 4. Chain 1, skip 1, 5. And then do 1 double crochet. Repeat. So chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet. 5 times. That's 1. Just with my chain 1, skip 1, 1 double. That's 2. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double. That's 3. Chain 1, skip 1. That's 4. Chain 1, skip 1. That's 5. And then you end with a double crochet, which takes me to my last stitch. Okay. So again, blocking will make all the difference on this. And I do feel like because this is a thinner yarn, it looks like there's holes everywhere. It looks like there's holes in between my double crochet as well, which makes me think that I want to go down even 1 more hook size to really make a difference between my chain 1 spaces and just the space in between the stitches. But I don't have one of those handy, so I'm just going to continue on here. That was row 2. Row 3. The only note I wrote besides your foundation single crochet, I always make myself a list of notes as I work through each strip to share with you, is you have to keep track of your rows. Every row is different. You are, other than it's always beginning with 2 double crochets, everything else is different. There are always 2 double crochets in the middle, but it doesn't always say to do 2 double crochets. Sometimes it's part 1 double, the doubles is part of a repeat, and the other one is part of the next repeat. The same at the end. But there are, if you look at the picture in the book, which is a much nicer example, 2 doubles up the middle, 2 doubles at the end. But how you make them based on the directions is different for every row, okay? Which is why I had a hard time visualizing based on the design and the directions for each row. So that's what really helped me clarify that one like this, where it wasn't, I couldn't visualize what the design was making, was one I'm going to want to skip. 1, 2, row 3. Chain 2. Make 2 doubles. Again, that's The only constant here. 1 and 2. So there's a chain space here. Make sure you don't make the double into the chain space. You make it into the top of that double. Okay. So my repeat is 2 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1 chain space, 1 double. So I did 2 double crochets, chain 1, skip a chain 1 space, and do a double. And then there's a repeat within my repeat. 1 double in a chain 1 space, 1 double 3 times. So 1 double in a chain 1 space and a double. That's 1. 1 double in a chain 1 space and a double. That's 2. 1 double in a chain 1 space and a double. That's 3. Skip chain 1 space and repeat. So I'm going to skip this chain 1 space and start my repeat, which is 2 doubles. Chain 1, skip a chain 1 space and do a double. And then my repeat within the repeat, 1 double in the chain space and 1 double 3 times. Space and a double. That's 1. In the space and in the double. That's 2. So this is where it's important that you're going into the double and not into the space 2 times. Space, because it would definitely change the shape of that stitch. That's 3 times. Chain 1, skip 1, 2 doubles. So I chain 1, skip the chain 1 space and do 2 doubles in the last 2 stitches. 1 and 2, because remember you don't go into the chain 2. All right. So I really had to look at my directions, and now I've done this 3 times and it still isn't clear to me. So other people in the class this morning didn't have a problem. It didn't even occur to me there was a square within a square, and where I was, I've made the bottom of this. This next row I'm going to be making the center dot. It was hard for me to see that at first. So just because I'm having a hard time with it doesn't mean you will, but it's something to look out for. Okay. So let's do, and then we're going to get to the fun one. So that is row 4, row 5. Was that row 4? I should check. No, that was row 3. Now we're doing row 4. So I moved it up too fast. Chain 2. Again. Here goes my repeat. 2 doubles. 1, 2. Chain 1. Skip the chain 1 space and do 3 doubles. So the chain 1, I'm going to skip the space and do 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 1, and repeat. Make sure I'm reading that right. 3 doubles, chain 1, skip a chain. Hold on. 3 doubles, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and do 3 doubles again. Sorry. So I'm going to skip this one and do 3 doubles again. I jumped ahead. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So we've made We did chain one. We did 2 doubles, chain one, we skipped, and we did 3 doubles. And then we chained one, we skipped, and we did 3 more doubles. We're going to chain one, we're going to skip 1 chain space, and we're going to repeat with 2 doubles. Chain one, skip the chain one space, and do 3 doubles. Chain one, skip one, do 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. Chain one, skip the chain one space to the last 2 stitches and do 2 doubles. Yep. Underneath it. There we go. 1 and 2. So here is the outline of each of our squares. And here's the center. So now we're going to be doing this row, it looks like, again, to complete, to go across. So I hope I'm making it clear why I find this a little confusing. It just visually is hard for me to see it. So I have to look at every row. If I have to look at every row of a pattern, if it doesn't become intuitive, depending on what I'm making, I may not want to do it. I like to, when I'm doing these kinds of patterns, I tend to do it while I'm either talking with somebody else or watching TV or whatever. And if I have to look at every row, I'm going to be making mistakes. And if visually I can't catch them right away, I'm going to get frustrated. So just keep that in mind as you're working through this with this square. It continues on. I'm not gonna keep going. You get the idea, where you just have to follow your chain spaces and go across. Okay, so that's dotty squares. Other ones in here like that, I felt like the 4x4 was going to be fairly similar, and that I was really going to have to be counting, although visually I could probably see that a little easier. So just keep that in mind as you're going. I want to get to the fun one. Fun one is number 51, Filet flowers. And I just think this is adorable. I thought it was adorable. And then once I realized how it was being created, I just thought it was clever. So again, let me hand block this a little. Look how nicely that's going to open up to make that flower shape. We were also talking in class this morning that you could use one of your other colors if you wanted to either put a little bobble on the center when they were done to bring in another color to put like a center to the flower, or embroider a little something there. I think that would be really cute, just to add a little something. Okay, so let me show you how you make filet flowers. This one is another one where she just says chain 18. It's just, you can make multiples, they'll be side by side. If you're doing foundation single crochet, you're going to do 17, and there's 17 stitches across here. All right. We're going to start with row 2, which is, let's see, our repeat is rows 3 through 8. Row 2 in this pattern is to do a row, after you've done your single crochet, is a row of double crochet all the way across, which is how you end your repeat as well. So I've got a row of double crochet all the way across. So I'm going to start on row 3. We are going to chain 2. Does not count as a stitch. Chain 2 and do 8 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to chain 3, which is different. We've just been using a single chain space to create our design. This time we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. We are going to skip 1 double crochet, and we're going to do 8 more. I'm going to skip this one and do 8 more. So I'm still only skipping 1 stitch, but I have a chain 3 going across the 1 stitch, which is different. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's row 3. Row 4, chain 2. We're going to do 6 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 more. I miss it. 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip 2 double crochets. So I'm going to skip this one and this one. And I'm going to put 2 single crochets in this chain 3 space. So first I chained my 3, put 2 singles, 1, 2. Again, that's different. Now I am going to chain 3. I'm going to skip 2 double crochets and do 6 at the end. So again, it's symmetrical, which I like. So skip 1, skip 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So our chain spaces are, those single crochets, pull those chain spaces down. And so you're not going to get a straight edge. Don't worry about that. It will work itself out. That's the way it's supposed to look. Okay. Row 5. Chain 2 and turn. 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3. Skip 2 double crochets. So skip the last 2 there. I'm going to put 1 single in the chain 3 space. I'm going to do 2 singles. So those 2 singles we made previously, I'm going to do 2 singles in those. 1 and 2. Then I am going to chain 3. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm going to do 1 single in the chain 3 space. So let's do, so 1 single there and 1 single in the chain 3 space. All right. And now I'm going to chain 3, skip 2, and do 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is pulling it down even more. And that's the way it's supposed to be, so don't worry about that. All right, so I've got 4 doubles, a chain 3, 1 single in this chain space, a single in each of those singles, a single in this chain 3 space, another chain 3, and 4 doubles. Now let's go to, that was row 5. Now we're going to do row 6. So we're kind of at the halfway mark here. 1, 2, I'm going to do 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 doubles in the chain 3 space. 1, 2, chain 3, skip 1 single, do 2 singles, so those center singles. 1, 2, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip that last single, 2 doubles in this chain 3 space, and 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's really pulled down there, but don't worry, it still works out. All right, that was row 6. Row 7, chain 2 and turn. We're going to do 6 double crochets. Two, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. We're going to do 2 doubles in the chain 3 space. 1, 2. So those doubles in that chain 3 space are starting to pull it up so it's more straight. Okay. And every time we do those singles, it pulls it down towards the center. And when we do the doubles, it starts to open it back up. 2 doubles in the chain 3 space, chain 1. We're going to skip those 2 singles. And put that here. So this time we only chained 1. Skip the 2 singles and do 2 doubles in this chain 3 space. And then do 6 doubles. 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. So a lot of that dip is gone. That was row 7. Row 8. Which I believe I said was very similar to row 2. Chain 2 and turn. 8 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, one double in the chain space. You got to chain one space there and then 8 doubles. 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. And now we're back to being straight again. Okay. So by using a different length of chain space and different stitches into the chain space, singles in this case, we were able to manipulate the shape of the chain space to create this, I think, very cute flower design. I just think that's so clever. Whoever designs these things, thinks these things up, I think it's just very clever to use the way that you can use that. And again, this will open up quite nicely, and I think it would be adorable with something embroidered or a bauble or a popcorn, which we'll talk about in a couple of months, I think, or maybe it's next month. Would be really cute in the center of that. All right. So as you're working, I hope you enjoyed this. I think that one is just really fun. The repeat on this one is rows 3 through 8, which is a nice short repeat, and I found it very fun. I think that would make a really cute strip. I also think that that would be really cute on the edging of a little girl's dress or a little girl's cardigan. I would love to take this motif. You can use the chart and just add that design in to something else you're crocheting. I think that would be adorable. All right. So that's it for this month with Filet Crochet. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help. If you're local, come in. I would love to help you, but if you're not local, reach out and I'll answer any questions that I can. We can always hop on Zoom and I'd be happy to demonstrate something for you if you need that. I hope you're enjoying this Mix and Match Blanket Club. I certainly am. I really need to narrow down as I'm making swatches of all of these different strips. I have way more strips than I really want to finish to make a blanket. So I've got to start to narrow it down to see, so I can finish some strips. Otherwise, come the end, I'm going to be a little bit desperate to get it finished for you guys. So I hope you're enjoying. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.